Eric kind of went down a path that we have not talked about a lot. I guess we've talked about it from the standpoint of baseball is a huge deal in Mississippi. Baseball is a huge deal in the SEC. We want college baseball to be a big deal nationally. But guys, do you think it matters? Kind of from our perspective, if college baseball is big in California and Ohio and Michigan and
Yes.
New Hampshire?
And here's why I say yes. And it may be a minute thing and people don't really care, but baseball is now and will forever be a sport that Ole Miss and Mississippi State can routinely compete for championships in, regardless of how popular it gets elsewhere. There is a significant amount of care that exists here that even if it improves elsewhere, will never reach this level. And, buddy, wait till the scholarships become full for everybody. There's how many programs in college baseball that truly
we've
have
been waiting on that for a while, Borky.
but it's coming. It will come.
Maybe.
It's happening. There's no, I mean, in the vote like in May or something? Like, it's coming. Either way, how many programs in college baseball have players that truly make anything in NIL? What is it, fewer than 10? Maybe a little more than that, but it's not many. But you're two of them. So being able to routinely compete for championships in a sport that grows in popularity is exclusively good for your school. If winning a championship in baseball and going to Omaha in baseball starts mattering more and more and more, your trips there give a greater return back to your school. So yes, baseball growing in popularity and becoming a bigger deal is great for us around here because it's something we're good at.
And it seems unlikely that another power is just going to crop up out of nowhere, especially when you think about it in terms of recruiting. I mean, you know, Borky mentions the North. I mean, it's just difficult. There's not a lot of ability to play baseball in the North because of weather. And this is where most of the recruits are here in the South. And Mississippi State and Ole Miss will always be able to recruit very well at that level. And I don't see I don't think 10 years down the road, let's say that the sport continues to grow, that all of a sudden Rutgers or Penn State or somebody becomes a baseball power.
Yeah, but I guess I'm thinking about it from the standpoint of, well, you've got roughly the same number of college baseball and college basketball teams. Right, I mean, we know football is significantly smaller, but just, within the same ballpark. And this has the potential to be a really big year for the SEC in terms of teams in the NCAA tournament with 8. If, let's say college baseball, like it rises and becomes a big deal everywhere, where the Big 12's getting 7 teams in and the Big 10 gets 6 teams in, and the ACC gets 6 teams in, and, it's spread. Does that make it more difficult? Like, I mean, do you get to a spot where instead of getting 10 in, the SEC is only getting 7 or 8 in? Or with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, as things are right now, the RPI, the way it's built, I mean, it's just going to feed on itself. And, I mean, you're going to have 16 SEC teams and 14 of them in the top 50 or the top 75, whatever the metric is for college baseball.
Yeah, unless they start putting, like, caps on how many teams can get in per conference.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have that.
It's an interesting counter, though.
Yeah.
I mean, but the SEC getting more difficult in basketball has only added bids, like you said. I mean, it's only increased the access. There were years where the SEC was a 3-bid league, man. Yeah. Never's a big word, but that may never happen again.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, because that would stink. But so,
and I don't know if they're going to end up with 8 when it's all said and done this year. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, maybe 7 or even 6.
For a pretty average league. I mean, right? I mean, you got Alabama really good at the top, and Texas A&M better than anybody thought they were going to be. And after that, it's just kind of like, eh.
Yeah. I mean, Auburn, if they had lost to Ole Miss last night, would have had some uncomfortable games coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, half the league is going to make the tournament. So the increased investment and buy-in and all that has created more access. It's funny how that's worked out. But as it sits right now, because I had somebody ask me the other day, like, why do we're talking about the Ole Miss outfield project that's coming, and this is a guy that loves basketball, one of the rare Ole Miss fans that doesn't care about baseball but wants basketball to win at the highest level. And his point is, Ole Miss already has like this great stadium and this great atmosphere. Does it really need millions more? Like, why spend the millions of dollars on baseball when you've already got everything you need and the sport doesn't make any money and all that? That's kind of his position.
Yeah.
And I can't help but...
The position is flawed because baseball does make money.
Right, but not
and if you took the TV, which I understand, you can't take the TV piece out of it, right? Football drives everything, but the secondary driver of the TV contract is basketball. But if you took the revenue from television out of what basketball generates, baseball generates more now at Ole Miss in terms of revenue than basketball does.
That's what happens when you have years of a bad product, but that's a conversation maybe for later in the show or a different day. But.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, but the other part of it is demand for what has been for 2 decades a consistently good product. Yeah. And every time you create more opportunity, it's gobbled up. Mm-hmm. I mean, people make fun of the big seating structure beyond the right field wall that's temporary, understandably so, but there was such a demand for premium seating that you wouldn't believe what they're charging to sit out there, and it's 500 feet from home plate.
Yeah. And then there will be a nice permanent structure on both sides with even more of those very expensive seats. But I guess I answered his question with a question that I wonder if they see a chance for baseball to be a viable financial option on an annual basis for more than just a very small handful of teams, which is why the clock rules are a thing that they care about. I don't know if you've noticed, and we talk about this some, especially in the offseason because it's the offseason, nothing on television does well anymore except for live sports. Nothing.
And then within the subset of live sports, nothing really does that well other than football.
Pretty much. But there's going to come a point where even not highly watched or not very popular live sports still have value for these television networks because nothing else does. I mean, Last of Us does great on HBO, but guess what? That's not live TV. Even though they air it live on HBO's channel, I watch it on their app. Like, even the most popular television show right now is still an app. Sports is all. And I wonder if...
There's no MASH, hey, Dad.
No more MASH.
Nah.
I wonder if they think...
Know who shot JR.
I watched the new Dallas. It was okay. But...
Wasn't as good.
Yeah, and just...
Was that streaming or was that on a channel?
It was on a channel.
It was on a channel.
Yeah.
Like TNT brought it back.
Something like that a few years ago.
Okay.
But, I mean, I think you're going to get to a point where maybe baseball becomes viable, and so they think, maybe we should dress up our everybody, not Ole Miss or State, because the fan demand, like you said. But maybe we should dress up our stadium a little bit, make it more accessible, because down the road, people are going to make us care, just like they did in basketball.